People tend to look at temperature as more of an afterthought when it comes to sake. But what if I were to tell you that that could be one of the biggest differences to take a bottle from a hard pass to a potential new favorite? I've got the same sake in these 3 glasses, and the only difference is the temperature. But that can be the difference between one of these glasses being meh to, yeah, I think I'll have, well, what I'm having. In the last video, we talked about why most people are drinking sake wrong, and temperature was definitely one of the bigger factors in most people's mistakes when it comes to sake. So in this video, I'm gonna do 3 things. I'm gonna taste the same sake at 3 different temperatures. I'm gonna explain why the temperature is having the effects that it is having on the sake at each of those temperatures. And then I'm gonna show you how to actually pick the right temperature for any bottle of sake you grab off the shelf, or when you're out ordering one at a restaurant. And by the end of the video, you'll be able to grab a bottle of sake and know exactly what temperature you need to be going for to bring the best out of that bottle and have the best drinking experience. And thumbnail freeze. So before I go into the 3 glasses of sake at different temperatures, let me just quickly introduce this bottle of sake, and I'll just get the camera to focus on the bottle for a second. So this is a Suigei Tokubetsu Junmai. So Junmai just means rice, water, yeast, and kojimo, so no distilled alcohol added during the brewing process. This is a Junmai, as I just said, and Tokubetsu just means special. This is a sake with a rice polishing ratio of 55%. It has an ABV of 15%, and it's from the Suigei Brewing Company, and it is from the Kochi, Japan, region. So Kochi is the region within Japan that this specific bottle is brewed in. And the reason I picked this one is because it is a Junmai with a 55% polishing ratio. So with that much of the rice grains left over, it's really going to make it easier to kind of see that being expressed throughout the different temperatures. Because that's, those fats and proteins that are normally milled away, the more of that's remaining, the more it's easier to detect, what that actually adds to the sake when you start warming it up or get it closer to room temp. All right, so first up, we are going to start with the chilled, the chilled version of the Tokubetsu Junmai, the Suigei Drunken Well. And I have it in this Glencairn. Usually you see this for like whiskeys, but it pretty much serves the same effect for a sake. You just want to funnel up those aromas. And so in an experiment like this, where you really want to kind of capture all those changes and nuances as we go through the different temperatures, this glass is perfectly appropriate for this experiment. So I'm just going to try and get a little bit of air in here and see what I can kind of get on the aromas. So everything is kind of muted a bit. I am getting like some of that rice grain for sure, but nothing's like jumping out. You really have to kind of search for it. But it definitely smells like clean and crisp. But like if you were to, from the nose, drinking this, you would expect something like punchy and fresh, basically. Yeah, definitely you get that umami, that kind of earthier aroma on the nose, but it's not jumping out. And yeah, but let's go ahead and give this a taste. Sorry, I realized after watching back some of these videos that like hearing me swallow can be a little awkward. So yeah, sorry about that. I'll maybe just mute that for the video. So you may not have actually heard it, but I'm speaking on it anyway. But as far as the taste of this, yeah, it's punchy. Like everything is just on the palate, everything just kind of hits you at once. And you definitely kind of, like I said, with on the nose, you kind of get that that crisp aroma on the nose. That's definitely translates on the palate. Like this would go good with some with some foods for sure, where you kind of want to bring back some of those like more intense flavors to kind of like rebalance everything. But yeah, not bad, but yeah, it's just a punchy taste. All right, next up we have the room temperature version of the same bottle. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna check and see if anything's changed with the aromas. We're gonna check and see if the taste is different, and we're gonna see if the basically like the viscosity or the mouthfeel of the sake has changed now that we're at room temperature. So I'm gonna swirl it around, get a little air into it, and I wouldn't say that the aroma has changed drastically. I'd say that everything has kind of like gotten intensified. So like I'm picking up the same nose for sure that I was at the chilled version of this, but like I don't have to search for the same aroma and those same like savory umami notes that like those earthy notes that I was getting before. I don't have to search as hard for them. They kind of like a lot more upfront. And you know what? I think with that intensity, I get a little bit more of I don't know. I don't really know what to describe the note as, but what would make me think that there's probably like more of a more like an acidity to it. I don't really know what to really describe that note as, but that's kind of, I don't want to say citrusy specifically, but it's kind of giving me like more of an acidic vibe, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I've probably swirled this around enough. Let's just try and get this on the palette. So, Kanpai. So not only did I get those changes on, or I'm not gonna say changes, not only did I get that like more intensity on the nose, but I also got that same kind of like crank up of intensity on the palate as well. And the mouthfeel on this has also gotten a little bit more full as well. So when on the chilled version of this same sake, it was a lot less full. I guess that's a better way to actually describe it. But on this, it definitely has a bit more body. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a change, but this is definitely more of like, I don't know if I would say everything. We'll save it for when we try the third one, the heated up version of this. But this room temperature, you definitely get more of what's actually in this sake once you let it come to room temperature. But yeah, this one's pretty good. This one is pretty good. But let's see if the heated up version of this sake has anything to say about it. All right, so now we're gonna try the final version, the heated up version of the Tokubetsu Junmai, the Suigei. So, Kanpai. Getting a little air into here, and wow. So it's like levels basically. This all of the aromas are super intense, and some of that is obviously from it being heated, but wow, like everything on the nose is a lot more intense. I'm getting the stronger umami, like the earthy notes that I was getting before, and I want to come up with better words than just earthy notes, but it's where I'm at right now. I have no professional training. But the full character, essentially, of what is in this bottle is, you're getting it on the nose, and we're about to get it on the palate. Kanpai. So what I forgot to mention was that like more acidic note that I was getting on the room temperature version, I was definitely getting a lot more intense on this on the nose. and I think it's coming through on the palate as well. I just can't really come up with the exact word, but I'm getting more character just in every range of nose and palate from this particular bottle. And on the taste as well, like it's just a more full profile, and the body, like again, some of it is gonna be, it's a heated beverage, so a warmer drink is just gonna kind of make this feel a little heavier. But I'm also kind of getting more viscosity on this, a little bit more, not something super oily, but definitely more full body on the palate. So why does this actually happen? Why is temperature so important when it comes to sake? Well, as sake warms up, those flavors and aromas just become way easier to detect, and the texture just becomes a whole lot more full. In a previous video, I used my bacon grease analogy, where if you just have cold grease, room temperature grease, solid sitting in the pan, people walk by it all the time, nobody really cares. But once you add some heat to that and that butter starts to get energized with that heat, those aromas really start to fill up the kitchen, and everybody starts salivating basically. And the taste of like solid bacon versus like when it's hot and it's dripping bacon, like even on a like flavor profile, it is a difference. And it's the same thing with sake. Once you energize these like fuller, these basically higher polished sakes, you kind of get the same effect. And I really want to emphasize this because I know it can come off as like, oh well, if I, have it at one temperature, it can be pretty good. And then if I have it maybe at a different temperature, it'll still be pretty good, but not much of a thing. No, these are pretty dramatic changes from one temperature extreme to the other. And it's important that you understand, or at least have a good idea of what sake is supposed to be enjoyed in about like which ballpark of temperature. So now that you know that temperature is so important to really get the most out of your sake drinking experience, the obvious question would be, well, how do I know what temperature a bottle of sake is supposed to be, enjoyed at? And there's a few rules of thumb or general kind of guidelines, if you will, and I'm saying general, so bear with me. If you grab a bottle and you follow me exactly and you feel like, you don't really like the bottle now, bear with me. So if it's a Junmai, you don't see Ginjo or Daiginjo, or if it's just a Tokubetsu and you don't see Ginjo or Daiginjo, your best bet with that is to just try it at room temperature, or go straight into heating it up. Not anything super crazy, not like 200 degrees or 150 degrees, but you can feel comfortable warming it up and knowing that you're probably going to get a good experience. And after you warm it up, let it kind of cool and get closer to room temperature, and see which version you like better. So again, if it's not a Ginjo or Daiginjo, you can just try and heat it, or just try it at room temperature, and you'll be good from there. If it's a Ginjo, you can honestly, I would just start at room temperature, or you can chill it first. And if you really like it at chilled or room temperature, or if you like it better at room temperature, then I try and heat it. But if you don't like it too much at room temperature, but you really like it chilled, then I wouldn't even bother trying to heat it. And if it's a Daiginjo, don't even bother trying to heat it. Just drink it chilled, and let it kind of go from that chilled, and drink it over time until it kind of warms up a little bit in your hand, or just through natural time. And if you start to like it a lot more at room temperature, then you might, that's kind of your indicator that you can just drink this specific Daiginjo just at room temperature. You don't really need to go through the that, I can say, a hassle, but you don't really need to worry about trying to chill it to get the best out of it. I will say, I am curious for all of my sake drinkers, do you actually experiment with temperature? Have you noticed significant changes with sake as you drink it from one temperature and let it either cool or heat up to another temperature? Has that really changed how you viewed any bottles? Let me know in the comments below what your experiences are with that. I'm really curious to know what other people's experience with temperature and maybe experimenting with temperature have been. So if you don't take anything else away from this video, I just want you to know that temperature should not be an afterthought when it comes to enjoying sake. You gotta put some thought into it, and it's the best way to make sure that you're not buying something and then thinking it's horrible and you really haven't even given it a chance to, like, you know, be its best self. So don't just disregard temperature as, you know, again, as an afterthought when it comes to sake. But that's a wrap for this video, and in the next video we're going to go over the 3 main types of sake that you should understand, and that's Junmai, Ginjo, and Daiginjo, and what they tell you about what's actually in the bottle. So if you don't want to miss that and you are enjoying exploring the world of sake with your boy, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. But until then, we'll keep sipping, we'll keep learning. Kanpai.